Hi BookTube, it's Roz and I'm going to do a tag. Haven't done one for ages and there's a few that I should have done and one in particular that I've kind of been really mulling over, and instead I'm jumping in to do something that is sort of swift and easy, well, that I can kind of do off the top of my head, so that I stop procrastinating. Don't procrastinate so much, Roz. I've had an excuse because, broken shoulder, all that. And now I've got the distraction of a new kitten, which I only say because he's in the room with me, and if he hears strange noises or I suddenly jump out of my seat, it's because he's like chewed my toes or something. So I'm going to do the library book tag, and I was tagged this week by Charlotte of Coiny Reads, and lovely channel if you don't know it. She has a lovely way of talking about books. She works kind of in academic publishing. Now, there are two sets of prompts for this tag, which was originated by someone, a channel called Book Bug, that I don't know, but I'll link to. And one set of answers is for if you use a library, your local library, and one set of questions is if you don't. Although, what a strange person you must be if you don't use a library at all. Well, I don't know. People don't perhaps, or you might not have one near you, or who knows what, but I'm answering the library users tag. So, tag questions. So, first question, how often do you go to the library? Now, this one is hard to answer. Okay, because, well, if I said, first of all, look, the last two books I've read, Hagstone, Sinead Gleeson, James by Percival Everett, both newly published, relatively new releases, both from my local library, which is, and I'm, constantly getting, they'll ban me, won't I? I drop books like that. Constantly getting books out of my library, so I'm using it all the time. But I don't go in as often as I used to because, I used to go every Saturday, taking the children, and then even long after that carried on. But I have my own personal library elf now. Steve, my husband, loves going into the library. It's very near where he works, and he'll often nip there at lunchtime. And because predominantly what I use the library for now is reserving books that I want, and so does he, he'll go in and drop them off and pick them up. And I do quite miss the thing of going in and just browsing around the shelves, but I don't do that so often now. I used to find a lot of books by browsing in the library, whereas now I suppose I'm finding them through BookTube and, in other ways, and just using the library to get hold of them. So I'm using the library weekly, more or less, but I'm not physically going there as often as I used to, which is perhaps sad, because they're lovely places, libraries, aren't they? I do go when I want to look for a new graphic novel to read, because that's one where I'm perhaps more likely to browse to find something interesting. Anyway, question number 2 is, do you belong to more than one library system? Well, that is harder in the UK. Basically, in order to belong to a public library, you have to use an address where you live. So Charlotte manages to belong to 2 because she uses like her family address to get to one library system, and where she's currently living to join another. But for most of us, we only belong to one, and that's our local library, unless we happen to be linked to a university, in which case, of course, you get to join, or other academic institution, in which case, and in the past, I've had that as well. But as it is, no, I belong to the Brighton and Hove City Library system, and use the main library in the centre of town, which is an excellent library, and as I say, constantly gets hold of brilliant new releases for me. And it's great for sort of LGBTQIA plus literature, and it's just, it's great. What percentage of books you read come from the library? I would say, it varies from month to month, but somewhere between 25 and 30% probably. Do you listen to audiobooks or get ebooks from the library? Yes. My library system uses both BorrowBox and Libby, and I signed up to both of those and I use them. I use it mostly for audiobooks. Now, if you can help me here, I have used both those to get hold of ebooks, but I haven't worked out how I get those onto my Kindle to read, and so I have to read them on like a tablet or a phone, and I find that much less comfortable in reading terms. I would love to, I'm sure I've heard that you can kind of get them onto your Kindle, like my Kindle Paperwhite, which is much more comfortable for reading. And, if you could tell me how to, I should probably just Google it. I Google it. There'll be someone will have explained it, won't they? But obviously I've been too lazy to find out. No, I've been happy, borrowing audiobooks. Question number 5. Did you go to story time at the library as a child? Well, now, I am so ridiculously old. No, not ridiculously old. I'm 60. And when I was a child, the libraries didn't really do story time like they did now. They were kind of places where they were very welcoming to children, as in they had a great collection of children's books, but it was very much, shh, stay quiet, don't disturb anybody. You could go around and look for books, but, don't. It's a library. That's changed wonderfully since, hasn't it? And story time in libraries is a glorious thing now. And I've done story time in the library with my children. And when I was a teacher, I used to do it at the school library. Brilliant thing. But no, wasn't there for me to do when I was a child. But I was a very regular library user as a child. That weekly going to the library habit started then. Question number 6. Have you borrowed a film or a video game from the library? Yes, I've borrowed the odd video when it was videos and the odd DVD since then, but it's not something I do regularly. I read more than I watch, if you know what I mean. It has to be when I'm very specifically looking for something that's perhaps linked to a readathon event where it's like, and watch the film. But now you can, get it on, streamed, so I'm even less likely to. Have you ever been fined for returning something late to the library? Yes, of course I have, because I'm a hopelessly disorganised person. And hallelujah, now you can renew online, just like you can reserve online, which is why I don't go into the library so much. But sometimes, still, you mess up. Or, the thing that I've borrowed is a new release and there's too many people waiting for it, and I can't renew it, and take it back a day late. How do I feel about it? Absolutely fine. I also feel absolutely fine paying my reservation fees to get exciting new releases, because that helps support the library system, and it's better value for me than buying the book, and it means that it's then in the local library system, and other people are enjoying it and reading it, which is it's a community thing, and we need to hang on to our community things. That's why we should all use libraries, so that they carry on existing. The more people that borrow from them, the more likely they are to carry on and flourish, and not get closed down as part of public spending cuts or whatever. Do you attend special events or groups or book sales at the library? The library doesn't do book sales really. It does do special events. I have been to some. I've been to sort of author talks. I belong to a book group at the library. I've been warned off those, I think, as from friends who are librarians. that the library-based book groups can be full of slightly strange people. No, strange people are great, aren't they? But I don't need to go to. I've got BookTube, haven't I? And my in real life book group. So no, I don't. But my library, the Jubilee Library, which is the central library in Brighton, is superb for exhibitions, art exhibitions, historical exhibitions. Black History Month exhibitions. It has people performing. I've seen Ukrainian choirs. I've seen so absolutely, I've been to events in my library. And then the last question is: have you ever given or taken a book from penultimate question? Have you ever given or taken a book from a little free library book box or book swap? Yes, obviously, of course I have. I love that sort of thing. Where I work, we have a kind of a bookshelf of books where you can drop things off and borrow things. Yeah, all through my life I've done that. But the thing that I probably do most is where I live. In this part of Brighton, people have a nice habit of putting things that they don't want, but that other people might want, out on the sort of wall by the pavement, and people often put out a box of books, and it's very much, help yourself if you want it. And likewise, I will put books that I don't want, that I've decided not to keep, or duplicates or whatever, out in boxes. In the street, and people will take them away. It's good. So it's a rolling book swap where I live, and that's lovely. Question number 10: does your librarian know you by name? Well, no. And wouldn't that be lovely? The library that I go to, the Jubilee Library in Brighton, is a big library with I'd say the librarians probably recognise my face, still do, but they wouldn't. It's not the sort of library where you'd know the librarian by name. I used, when the children were little, we had a mobile library. Sadly, such things no longer exist, at least in our city. But it was like a van full of books that came and parked at the end of the next street, and the children and I could go in there and every week and exchange books, and that librarian knew all of us by name, the children and me. Sad that they no longer exist. I know they still do deliver books to people that are housebound or to sort of sheltered homes and residential homes, and that's nice. But the mobile library was brought books into the local community, and it was great when you had toddlers. So there you go. Finally, of course, tag people. Now, I have naughtily not done the thing of checking who's already done this tag. So I'm going to tag a few people, and I may actually have watched and commented on versions they've done of this tag and just forgotten, because, I have a brain like a sieve these days. So I'm going to tag Lindy of Magpie Reads, Emily of Novell Novels, Jem of Gemma Books, and Jack of Spread Book Joy, and Priscilla, the Evening Reader, because I don't know whether she lives in the Netherlands and but isn't from there, and I wonder, do you get to use the library in that case? I don't know. Anyway, but if you've already done it, apologies. And anyone else that fancies it, why not? If you're a library user, or even more interestingly, if you don't use the library and you're going to answer the other set of questions.